Okay, so today I'm going to talk about how to start web automation in your company. So my presentation mostly aiming at people who are like not very technical, kind of have some understanding of how automation works, but like really for like maybe like manual QA engineers or like real for new people. So let me start to introducing myself. Who I am. So currently I'm a lead at Try Market. I'm not sure if you heard about the Try Market company. It's basically an e-commerce company who offers organic healthy food and sell it like online. So we deliver across the country, like doing a lot of like charity programs, like supporting like low-income families and doing all of this cool stuff. Previously, I worked in a Beachbody. Like you probably heard of Beachbody. It's like a company who do like workout programs and all of stuff. Before that, I worked in Dutch Commerce. It's also like really cool company. Okay, let me start. So why do we need to automate testing? The reasons are simple. I feel like the main advantage of that's you're automating. Thank you. You're basically automating manual routine that you're doing like every day during your executing your regression test suites. And this actually saves a company a lot of money because instead of spending so many resources for like manual checks, you can like automate it and focus like on more interesting things, like more for exploratory testing and so on. Also, the second advantage is because like it's machine verifying your application, and if you like set really strong assertions, it will like fail. If like something goes wrong, it will fail. Like it won't like like it won't miss anything. It will fail right away. Also, the third thing is you can easily increase your coverage because once you set up automation framework and once you implement the test, you can like easily change environments like browsers, just setting the parameters, and it will run the same test across different browsers like easily. And also it can do it in parallel. So you will like, I mean, instead of like, again, wasting so many times, you can do it like easily. Right. And also the last one will help your developers. Once you integrated your test to CI system, it will help developers easily to determine the issues and fix them right away. Cool. So I'm gonna show how to start it in like 4 steps. The first step is, as I call it, like preparation. So like what you need to do first. So first of all, try to convince your manager. Just tell him like all of the advantages that web automation does. So he can like allocate resources, like maybe like give you more time in your like work routine to do that, or maybe like invite some other like more senior people who will help you, and maybe like allocate a budget. So it's, I mean, if not, if you don't have like so much resources, you can like try to, like practice like overtime or like do something about that. So what else? If in your project you don't have automation, but if your company is big enough and you already have automation in different teams, try to talk to people there to see like their solutions. Maybe it will be easier to use like their solution and adapt to your project. So you will like save a lot of time in exploring, and also you will have like experts who already struggled with that, and they should like easily help you to do it like as well. And so the third one is, I think it's one of the most important one. You need to choose actual tools or like programming languages that you're going to use to create your automation. So do a lot of research, find your right tool, because otherwise this will be bad if you already like wasted so many times to implement something and you find out it's not fit for your company. This would be like really, really bad. And after that, you can like create simple automation test plan just to highlight like how you're gonna automate some other things. And you can also list all the tools that you're gonna use there, and like timeline, like in which you're gonna, start to do that and complete it. Okay, so when we talk about web automation, there's actually plenty of tools. Like you guys probably already heard about Selenium, but it's not like the only tool for web automation. There's like a few of them. Here's some of the open source solutions like Selenium, Catalan, and Water, and also like paid solutions like RunRX and Test Complete. So which is counts for questions, which one to choose, and like in different clients, like in desktop or like mobile, you have like different solutions. They kind of like equal. It's maybe hard to choose, but I feel like for a web, it's pretty obvious. It's better to go with Selenium WebDriver, and I'll explain you like why. So first of all, like right now, Selenium WebDriver is W3C recommendation. It's like a standard. If you never heard about W3C, it's a, I think it's like no-profit organization who sets like standards for a web, and other companies like is trying to follow it. So now Selenium are stable enough, like good enough for them to recommend from W3C. So it's actually a really big thing right now. So second of all, Selenium is open source, so that means you don't have to pay to use it. It's open source. Also, it has a really huge community support, so if you have any troubles during your building your automation framework, you can most probably will find solution easily just Googling it and going to Stack Overflow, because Selenium is old enough, and there was a lot of people who were like struggling, and from my experience, I know like I always was able to find something in the internet because so many people using it and it's so easy to find it. Also, there's a lot of resources to learn, like articles, videos, like forums, like if you like Google, you'll like find a lot of like content that will help you to learn. And like for Selenium, there shouldn't be a problem at all. And also, Selenium supports most of the popular programming languages. Like you can like choose any language you want, like Python, Java, Ruby, PHP, JavaScript, whatever. So which comes to second problem, like which language to start with. I would say start with most comfortable language for you. And if you like don't know any programming languages, you can use the same language as your application are written. Let's say if your application written in JavaScript, you can like use JavaScript. So developers will like help you with like syntax and how to get like started. Also, like Selenium WebDriver has some of the cons. So first of all, like Selenium only allows you to test web application. Like if, for example, if you want to test like Chrome extensions or like some browser features, you won't be able to do that. You will need to find like different solutions for that. Like second thing is like it requires some basic programming skills. Like you will actually need to learn how to code if you want to work with Selenium WebDriver. Also, it's maybe harder to understand than like easy record and playback solutions. Let's go next. Step number 2, create automation framework. This will be like more complicated thing because, and also this is like very important because if you build like really strong, robust framework, it will be easier in the future for you like to change your tests, change the logic, change the code, and all of the stuff. I would say it's better to spend extra time here creating a framework than changing it like after that, and make it like more scalable. Just to keep in mind, like maybe like let's say like year after you will have like 500 test cases, and like your framework should like fit all of them and should not like change very frequently. The second thing is try to use some best practices like page object model and some other ones, so it will be like easy to manage your test cases, I would say. Also, don't hesitate to ask your developers to help, because they're developers, they work with code like every day. they can give you like some ideas how to build your framework from architecture overview. Like in my experience, I had like a lot of good suggestions from my developers, and they helped me to implement some of the part of them. So, and yeah, because they have like more experience, like they work with a code, it's more understandable for them how to build everything. Also, one of the most important thing, do not overcomplicate things. Try to keep it like as simple as possible, because after you build it, most of the people in your team should understand how it works. Like they should not like think like, hey, what this code is doing. It should be like pretty straightforward for them to get started. Let's go next. Step number 3. After you finished your framework, it's time to write actual tests. And what you need to do here, my suggestion would be start with basic stuff that doesn't change a lot, because UI tests, they're really fragile because UI changed a lot. So like as a first test cases, you need to find something like a smoke test that doesn't change like really frequently, so they will be like more stable, and it will be like a good basis for you. Also, smoke testing is a good candidate to automate. I feel like it's pretty obvious. Because like smoke tests, like they're performing like every time after like before each release or after like each merge. It's just easier to start with that. Also, the third one is make your tests more readable. So I don't like name your methods like pretty straightforward, or like name your test steps in a test more straightforward. So it will be easier for other people to read it. Maybe like if you will use some kind of BDD solutions like a Cucumber or a robot framework, this will be easier in terms of readability. And also, the last one is reference your manual test cases in your test, because the main idea of automation is to have like manual test cases and automate them. And if you're doing that, just to reference it in your test management system and like tag them, they're automated. So it will be easier, like if they will fail, this will be easier to find like a manual test case in a test system. Cool, let's go next. Step number 4, after you have a framework and after you have a test, it's time to integrate to CI. And what do you need? Like, why do you need to integrate to CI? CI, it helps you to run your test in some. It's maybe like running in schedule, or you can also like set some kind of hooks. Let's say like after your developers creating a release branch, you can set a hook in a Jenkins or like any other CI tool to start to run your tests automatically. So to do that, you need to work with your DevOps team, because most probably there are people who integrate CI systems. So they will have like more knowledge of it, and they will help you like set it up. Also, set up a schedule to trigger run of your test. You can like do it like nightly, like after you're going like after you finish your work, you can like set to run like your test suites, and you can see like results in the morning. This is like the most easiest thing. Also, choose environment where do you want to run your test. You can like, if it's like a web test, you can run them in Docker or use some kind of like testing cloud services like SourceLab or like Browser Stack, like any other. There's like actually a lot of them, so it's right to choose the things. So step number 5, after you have your test, it's integrated to CI, it's time to implement reporting. Like all managers, they may not see the code, but they want to see the coverage that you have, and they also want to see the percentage of your tests and failures or like passing tests. So there's a lot of tools to do that. It depends on the language or testing framework you choose. Like you can use standard reporting. Like if you choose some kind of BDD based frameworks like a Cucumber or Robot framework, they generate like really nice reports. So you don't need to add like additional plugins to that. But if you use like some kind of basic basic testing frameworks, you will need to install like additional plugins to do that and generate like all of this like HTML reports or maybe send them by email. So what's next? And maintain. Yeah, so you will need to continuously maintain your test because your application is changing, like UI is changing, and you need to be on track and to change it right away. Like because if you won't touch like for a while, it will be like or your test will break, and there will be like no sense to start to automate. So yeah, continuously maintain. So what are the main challenges for starting web automation? Like UI tests in general, they're like very fragile. You need to keep it in mind all the time. Like compared to like API tests, they're like more like stable. They're not like changing a lot. So in UI, it's a different. And you need to design your tests keeping it in mind. Like instead of like maybe like hard coding like locators or like hard coding as a logic, you may use like separate method and reference it there and to define logic there. So it should be like easier for you to change it. Also, as I mentioned, it requires some basic programming knowledges. So you should be like technical enough to do that. And also it requires some basic testing knowledges as well. Like I had experience when like developers, they were creating a testing frameworks and automation test, but because they never like had a QA experience, they created by their like how they see the testing. And in many cases, it will just like all the like because they mostly like covering like all the positive scenarios, and they may all like pass, but you will still push bugs or issues to production. So my general recommendations, do not rely on record and playback solution because it's really easy to start with, but it's really hard to maintain it. Let's say if you record your actions, right, and you're running it and it works, but then after some changes, it will start to break and you cannot really change it. You have to record it again and again. So this is kind of like wasting of your time and resources. Second thing is try to find existing solutions. Like let's say maybe like find some templates for frameworks. Like instead of like building something by your own, try to find it in the internet. Maybe you have like already existing solution. Research on the internet. Try to talk to more professional people, like as we do here, like trying to find people who already have experience and ask their like advices how to do things. Also, you can like take a courses of web automation or learn by yourself. Like as I mentioned, like in Selenium, there's a lot of content, so it should be good to do that. And I think that's it. Any question, guys?
So I have a question. So when you decide that it's enough to automate, like, when is this bottom line, like, that's enough automation? Because we all know that it's impossible to automate everything.
Yeah.
When you decide it's enough?
Well, I never had this like problem in my life, to be honest. There's like almost a lot of work. I feel like when you get like some kind of like decent coverage, like let's say if you have like 90% of the coverage of automated things, and the rest 10% doesn't make sense to automate, let's say because UI changes like every day, right? And there's like no reason to spend time. Like probably this is the time when you start like automating, or project is completed, and I don't know. Yeah.
Or when you're out of budget.
Yeah, or when you're out of budget. Yeah. I mean, for automation, there's a lot of work. Like again, like I never had this problem when I don't have the work to do.
So on your project, who decides what should be automated? Like you or your lead, or your, I mean, like your lead, so your manager or your project manager?
Yeah, it really depends on the company, but in my like as we do like in try market, we just like see all the like manual test cases not covered in automation and just like choosing them and working with them. Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What would you recommend for handling like test data? So data that you need to rely upon, like run the tests and how you like set that up.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Can you repeat this question again?
Yeah, I'll repeat the question. Like, what would be like my solution for working with data? Because it's a UI test, you may create like some kind of like mock service, so they have the consistent data and not be dependent of the data that's returning to UI. But it's kind of like tricky because like if you mock your like, let's say like API responses, right? And the API scheme may be changed and you won't able to find them in your test because it still like relies on the old API schema. So you won't be able to see this issue. In this case, I will still like recommend to use integration tests in pair of like functional like mock tests. In terms of data, it's actually a lot of solutions. You can like I don't know, create test data specific for your test, or use like testing databases and upload like all the data before your test as a setup. Yeah, I would say like just use testing data for your purposes. Like don't try to work with like real data because it's maybe changed. Yeah, like very general answer, but I don't know what else like to add here, to be honest. Other question, guys?
All right.
Yeah, this is kind of like a general topic. There's like introduction, there's like less technical stuff, and yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Zach.
Yeah, thank you guys.